أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. Welcome. My name is Abdul Alim El Amin, and these are our conversations on civilization. And we invite your comments at the end of our short talk. We thank you for spending a few minutes with us. We're continuing our talk on Zakat, the third principle of action in Islam, a principle of action. The establishment of the worship of one God, the practice of regular prayer, that is salat, and the third principle, which is zakat. Zakat translated as purification, or the bringing of money, of wealth, real wealth, material wealth, to be redistributed for specific purposes, and that is zakat. What are those specific purposes? We'll review one more time because we want to get this exactly right. Money brought and distributed for the near of kin. Number 2, for the orphan. Number 3, for those who are traveling in the way of Islam doing good. Number 4, for those who ask because they are needy and in great need. Number 5, al-Raqaba, for the freeing of captured believers or the freeing of slaves, so that they will be released as free human beings on the earth. And those are the practices, the practical purposes of zakat. As I said earlier, doing that in a specific area has the net effect of improving the values in that community and the value of that community, the real material real estate value, because you begin to have a community that people want to live in. And when people want to live in a community, they'll pay more to get there. So the doing of zakat has an element of magic in it, magic in the old traditional way of doing something practical that has an extraordinary effect. So yes, zakat has social, economic, and political or legal effects. All right? But for it to happen, what I've discovered, and particularly here in the West, and perhaps it's true throughout other parts of the world, as people become Muslims from a Christian tradition, from a Jewish tradition, etc., very often they bring the habit of mind that they had entertained before in an earlier social institution, whether it was a religious institution or a community cultural center. They bring those ideas to them. Now, we are human beings. If I stand up today and say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and I will keep up salat and zakat, that's wonderful. But if I said that today, never having done it before in my life, I'm still carrying in my own head and heart images of success from the life before Islam. Common sense. We bring imagery, that is an idea set, pictures, images of success. If we saw success before Islam as driving a big car, living in a big house, well, even in Islam, we want to drive a big car and live in a big house. If we saw it as having a change of clothes to wear every day, that's what we envisioned. And so for us, success is that. So even though we become a Muslim, we take the Shahada, we practice Salat, we practice Zakat, we still are carrying images, and our wealth will always follow the images that we carry. Agreed? Now here's the tradition in the West, very big tradition in the West, and it's made it very difficult, I think, for Zakat to be practiced properly. And you can differ with me in our conversation on civilization if you care to. I am perfectly open to it. Here's the challenge. The monarchist tradition, which permeates our culture, has us admiring big dresses in the case of women, big suits and big cars in the case of men, and big houses. We all see ourselves as the prince or the princess or the king, and as a consequence, when we come to Islam, we right away project that upon the imam. And we want to hold the imam responsible for what happens to us, even though we're a live, living member of that community. So, we sometimes find ourselves in masajid having trouble applying el-Islam, the practical application of zakat, because we come with charity and we just give it in the box. Just put it in the box. And we don't hold ourselves or the imam responsible for the proper application of it. And that's what I'm getting at. For us to get the magic, for us to get the desired community effect, we must distribute the zakat for the purposes stated in the Quran. We will not achieve that effect otherwise, and we have living proofs of that in masajid around the West, particularly North America and Central America and South America, where people after 10 or 15 or 20 years have not created that community, have not changed the nature of that community because they haven't managed their zakat. And sometimes they get upset with the imam, and then the imam gets upset with the people. All of this is a natural occurrence, and it occurs in the main because we're carrying images from our pre-Islamic, that is the Jahiliyyah, the period of our ignorance. We are bringing ideas, those same images, with us into the masjid, and we give money to the imam, and then we get angry with him because we think, oh, he bought a car, he invested in real estate. Well, we are all individually responsible to see that zakat is delivered properly. And the imam is a brother walking on two legs like any of the rest of us. And if we want proof in the life of Prophet Muhammad, after he passed away, he assigned responsibilities to the Khulafa Rashidin, that is the first four caliphs, the first four administrators after Prophet Muhammad. He trained them personally. And let me tell you, Umar radiallahu anhu, right, may the victory of God be with him, Uthman, the Caliph Uthman, the chief administrators in Islam after Prophet Muhammad, trained by him, could be pulled into court for a hearing if there was a disagreement. They had all the power, control all the armies. But if an individual disagreed with him, as occurred in the case of Omar, he was dragged into court and he was found to not have sufficient witnesses to support his position. And even though he controlled all the armies of Islam, and in fact his sword was known throughout the Muslim world, because he was a guy given to fight, but he was a believer. And so he had learned from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may the peace of God be upon him, that every individual is responsible before God and before the law, and no one is above the law. So hold yourself responsible for the proper application of zakat. Hold your imam responsible, and check your imagery. What is the controlling imagery in your life? From the television, from the pictures in the West, and sometimes people laughingly call the place Babylon. The power of imagery, I can say to you without a doubt, for those who have studied human psychology and human development, is that the imagery set that you carry controls your actions. It is what you act out. It is what pleases you when you do it. If you see yourself in the mirror doing that thing that is the image from your mind, you feel good. So you're carrying this notion of a prince. You've assigned it to the imam or some other leader in the community, the mayor or whomever it is. And then you relinquish all responsibility for the wealth you give and act as though somehow it's magically going to get to where it should be. And then if it's misapplied, then we're upset with ourselves or our imam, or we're upset with the chairperson of this committee or that committee. All because we have allowed our own imagery set. I think one psychologist called Jung in the West did an extensive study on this. And you can check it and research it for yourself. And you certainly can research my reference on Umar radiallahu anhu. Every individual is responsible to see, not only for salat, but to see that zakat is done properly. And when we do that, and when we manage the imagery set in our minds, we will then cease to walk into the masjid and just dump the money, or into the church and just dump the money, and expect somehow it's going to get to these specific purposes. It will get to whatever purposes the people whose hands on it take it to. If you insist that they put it in the right place, then they will do it. If you make no noise, if you say nothing, if you don't audit your own operations, then they'll do what comes to them. This is a critical point in the development and establishment of Islam in the West and throughout the world. Do Salat, that's the theoretical part, but do Zakat. Do Zakat according to the purposes specified in the Holy Quran, Surah 2, Ayat 177, that I have just related to you. If we do these things, we will create these valuable communities where everyone wants to get in there and live, and we begin to enjoy the wealth and the sense of prosperity and the sense of peace in a neighborhood where law is respected, and even your old mother, my old mother, can walk down the street at midnight with her purse hanging open and be perfectly safe on her way home, because peace and justice and law rules in that space. And the word will spread, and the value of the space increases, and we gain the material benefit of this great practice that we call religion, but is simply a way of life. We ask Allah that you would accept the best of these words, and my intention, because of my passion and love for the average believer who, like myself, hopes to see the best for himself and his neighbors in this world, and who longs for a community of people who want to live on the upright way and enjoy the benefits of Islam. I thank you again for letting me come into your life and spend a few minutes with you. For those who agree with me, I look forward to hearing your comments. For those who disagree with me, I look forward to hearing your comments even more. Make them sane, send them to us, and we'll try and reflect them back to the audience over time as soon as we work out a process that will be reasonable. Thank you again for your time and understanding. Thank you for your patience. May Allah bless us to get some good from these few words. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.